Hey, yo, what's
Can
going
you?
down?
What's up?
I said, what up?
It was so funny when the last one ended. It was like, nice job, you did great. That sounded great.
We had some
It's
technical
like,
difficulties, you know what I'm saying?
thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening to that hot mess. Hello?
Great.
Oh, boy. So what's going on? How you been?
Oh, pretty good. Just I've been reading this book about basically this guy talks about how he just like breaks it down in the most simplest form because we humans have complicated things over you know just ever since we like have grown up and started like learning about the world and ourselves and stuff. But he breaks it down to just like us people. Like, he doesn't like to use the word humans. It's like we're artists, and we are artists. Like, we write our own story. I like to think of it as paint our own painting, but he describes it as we're always we start writing these stories since we're little, and we believe them. We write stories about people, like other people. We write stories about ourselves, and it's just our own creation. So whatever story you have written about me, it's not the story I've written about myself. And whatever story I've written about myself, that's not actually who I am either. So this has just been like blowing my mind today, because it's like, damn, dude, like I have written this like story of myself, right? Like over, years or months or whatever, the story keeps changing. And it's like the story doesn't have to stay the same. It can like change, but it's like I believe in it. Whatever story I've written about myself right now, I believe it, but I don't have to. I can, at any moment I can just rewrite it, or as I like to say, repaint it, because, I'm a visual person. So
You are
that's where I'm
just
at.
jumping way in the deep end right off the bat. You're not dipping your toe in the pool. You are just splash. Getting deep. Who is this guy? What are you talking about?
Dude, like, I'm just saying, you asked me what I was up to, and
No, I'm
I said
digging it. I'm digging it.
I was reading, and this is where my mind is at, like, right now. Like, at
What's
this
this
very
book you're
moment.
reading?
Crap. What is the name?
Just want to give a
Hang on.
little credit to the guys. Oh, there's this guy and he says this thing. You know what I mean? Like people might be like, "What's she talking about?"
All right, it's The Voice of Knowledge, written by
Whoa.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yo, that guy is
Ruiz.
dope. That's the guy that does the Four Agreements. He's got this really bomb book about
Really?
yeah, he's got this really bomb book about relationships, the mastery of love. His books they're good, they're simple, they're digestible, and they're direct. And he does say it in his own way, but he's just I like him. That's the first book
Yeah.
I read on my journey, like the Four Agreements, and then it was just all uphill from there. But yeah, the Voice of Knowledge is just it really brings so much to light about what you were saying, like all the stories we tell ourselves, and just getting lost in thought, basically, and how it's almost like counterproductive the more we get into the thoughts and get into the ideas and the images, we lose so much essence along the way, you know.
Yeah, I love how easy it was, like, to read it. He just like compared to Eckhart Tolle, I mean, nothing against him, but like this guy, I mean, he just like breaks it down into the most simplest concept. Like, he doesn't sit there and like tell you, well, here's the ego and this is how it works. These words, but this guy's just like, we're born and then we start, doing these things, and then here we are. And it's just like, whoa, that is exactly it. But it's just so simple. Everything is so much more simple than we ever even could imagine.
I'm kind of offended how you just totally gave my boy that voice though. Just like it's not like Eckhart Tolle where he's like, I'm like, damn, that's my dog. What you talking about?
Shit.
No,
My
I
bad.
get you though. I get you. No, Don Miguel he's great. Like for the first book, like if I would have picked up like Eckhart Tolle at first, it probably would have been a lot to process and you know it's almost and I don't mean to diss Don Miguel in this way, but it's almost like his books are kind of the elementary level, and then Eckhart Tolle is like a college course. You know what I mean? So like without like building up to something as heavy as a new earth, you know, I'd be like, what is he talking about? But priming me with the four agreements and, you know, the voice of knowledge, it was kind of like, oh, I get what you're talking about. And then a new earth was like, hey, this is in textbook form what we're saying, and I was already introduced, so it was like, oh, now you're just expanding it for me.
So you started with him?
Yeah. As the
Man,
dude,
I'm just like going backwards.
No, you're good. You're going the way you're supposed to go. Like,
right, yeah, it's my story.
Yeah.
Get off me.
The dude gave me the four agreements because I needed to hear like the four agreements, but I picked up on a lot of the ego stuff, and I picked up on a lot of the conditioning stuff that like the four agreements talks about domestication and all that, and it just resonated so heavy. And I almost like relate like the four main agreements I did need and I did appreciate and adopt, but like the other stuff I really needed. And it was like, oh, I'm just touching on these other things over here, but this is the point, the first agreement. And I'm like, oh no, I'm talking about that other stuff though. Like, yeah. And it just gets you ready for the next phase. And yeah, there is no, because I'll read something like the four agreements, then I'll stumble across a new earth, then I'll go back down a grade, you know, and read something else that's like a oh, this dude had one, it was like the art of thinking or something. I wish I had it on my head, but it was very simple shit, like every day it had like 101 different things, and they were like a page and a half, 2 pages long. Simple, but just basic shit. Like I've shared in meetings before, like treat everyone as if they're, you know, a baby or an old person. Remember, I think you were there, and I was like, why do we get mad at the 40-year-old who throws a temper tantrum, but we don't get mad at the child or the older person? Because we expect the 40-year-old to know how to handle themselves, but maybe they don't have the coping skills. Maybe they're just really angry one day. Maybe they're just broken. It's like that middle area where, you know, once your kid gets old enough, you're like, oh no, you know better. Or, you know, you expect a 30-40-year-old, yo, you know better, why are you fucking up? But then when they get to like 60 and 80 and they're talking out of their ass, you're like, he's just old and grumpy. Like, it's easy to write off. So, but just reading that one simple thing, he's just talking like that, and I'm like, oh, that helped me so much with dealing with people who are on my age level, who are of competency, to be like, hey, you're just hurting too, and maybe you don't know how to express yourself right now, and let me not just add to the negativity. So, but that's good. Like I try to tell you about these books. I'm like, yo, you gotta read these books, and you're like, yeah.
Well, I mean, when people tell you to read something and you just like, oh yeah, let me just, that's going to be the next thing I do as soon as you say that. Well, I actually listened to the subtle art of not giving a fuck because you told me about it. So there's that.
Yeah, no, literally right after I said it, I was like, bro, how long did it take you to read A New Earth after this dude told you about it? Like a year. Even though he was like, yo, you're going to love this book. Like, the things you say, I can tell you'll love this book. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Just like
that's
that.
That's gonna get edited out.
No, that's my favorite part.
No.
Yeah.
If I could figure out how to like spell that out, that could be the name of the episode. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
But yeah, it just like it all boils down to just us having expectations of people and ourselves, set a certain standard, set a certain image, write a certain story. But it's like everybody's gonna have their own story, and you can either choose to get mad or you can choose to just chill the fuck out. And you know,
Just chill the
lately
fuck out.
I've been choosing to just chill the fuck, and it's been working out so well because like there's no difference whether I would get all worked up or I don't. And before I would get worked up, nothing would have changed. I would just get worked up. And now I don't get worked up. I just chill, and it's so much better. It's like, oh, I mean, there are some things that I can't like chill out right away. I'm just like my automatic like ego response just, overtakes me. But now I have this gift of breathing. I can just be like, wait, here I am. I'm right here. I'm okay.
Right. Dude, that's like the biggest thing. That is like such a major tool that like we just don't know. We think when you get lost in your thoughts, when I got lost in my thoughts, it would be like there wasn't no, oh, just center, become peaceful. This is a thought. That's just an opinion. It's not happening right now. Like, no, my brain is telling me something. I think it's me. I think it's a major thing to focus on. It's giving me emotional responses and physical and more mental responses. I get lost in it and I need to figure it out. And nowadays it's like, whoa, just calm down. Like I could freak out about tomorrow. It could be a legit thing to freak out about, to want to solve. And I could be like, hey, this isn't going anywhere. Let me chill and regroup and figure it out in a minute. And it's night and day, how it affects me. But there was none of that before. Like when I was using, it was just a constant chase to find this peace, whether it was through a substance or through my addiction and need to control. Like that is most of it. Like we were talking about this earlier in a group where it was just like the need for control is so strong, and it's the cause of so many of our problems. Like I was talking to someone today who I'd seen around the meeting. I just kind of bumped into him, and he's like, "My girl could use these groups," and I'm like, "Oh, well, send her on through. Like we can, talk about getting in services or something." And she's like, "Oh, she doesn't do drugs. She just has a really bad addiction to control, and it drives her insane." And I'm like, "Oh, I get that." You know what I mean? And it just kind of fell back in line with everyone can use the program type thing. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why like there are certain people in this world that don't like the ones that don't become addicts is because their need for control is manageable. Whatever they're doing in their life is somewhat manageable. They still feel like shit on the inside, but on the outside, to society, to societal standards, it's manageable. Kind of like with like, one of my good friends, she is heavily addicted to video games. She's not an addict. She just like with the way like her and I would be talking or texting each other back and forth, it's like talking to a person in active addiction. It's like I don't get a response for a long time because she'll escape, and she just needs to escape reality completely all the time because everything is just because nothing goes her way the way she wants it to be, just that lack of control. So, right. But video games are not problematic because when you're addicted, when you have an addiction like that, you're not hurting others around you. You're just hurting yourself. You're in yourself. So it's fine. Everything is fine. You don't need the program. You don't need anything.
I mean, yes and no. Like, maybe not your friend, you know what I mean? But like, there are people who are so addicted to video games that they don't sleep right. They put it in front of obligations. They There's some people that fucking wet themselves because they don't go to the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
yeah,
there are addictions, like, and they may be more extreme. But like, if you're at school and all you're doing is thinking about video games, you can't wait till you get home so you can play your video game. You're like, oh, mom, I know you're getting married today, but I just gotta play this level. Like, this shit's real, and there's an impulse, there's a like mental attachment, and there's when you're putting it above something, and you're getting unhealthy with, and this goes for anything that you can obsess about. When it becomes unhealthy, it's an addiction. Before then, it's kind of like a dependency or a strong interest.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I love to rap. I don't sit there and rap until my bones break and I'm about to fall asleep. I don't stay up till 4 in the morning when I got to work the next day at 8, and then like fuck my whole next day up because I was just so addicted to the rap that I had to keep going. No, but there are people who do that with video games who are like, oh, one more level, just one more. I just need one more. Let me get one more win. Like, they're out
Yep.
there, and I'm not saying it's your friend, and but they're out there.
But what I'm saying is the point being is that those people, because they don't know that it's a problematic thing, they don't think they need the program.
Right. Yeah, I do agree with you there.
So
Kind of like going back.
I
No,
know
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
fact she needs this program. Okay. And I don't know how to go about it, how to, because she's just going to be like, well, what do you mean? Like, she's going to get arrogant. Like, well, you used to like shoot up, blah, blah. And like, how does this even like compare to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like one of those things. But, she's never, yeah, it's tough. But
Yeah.
go ahead, what you were going to say.
Well, like, so yeah, people who need the program, but the society standards say it's okay. Like, I know so many people close to me even who are like, they don't do drugs, but they are obsessed with control,
Mm-hmm.
anger, blame, um, just everything. Or they have to speak on everything. They have to fight and argue about whatever they don't like, and it's one of
Yep.
those things, like, you could use a program too, but I can't sit you down and be like, listen, your attachment to like attack with anger and negativity over something you don't like, when you can just like mind your own business, focus on you. They'd be like, what?
Mm.
No, this shit's going on and I don't like it and I'm going to speak on it. Or someone made me mad, so I'm going to scrunch my face and cuss them out. Like, they feel like they feel like so entitled, or they're so used to it, and there's nothing that says, hey guys, anger is, I mean, there are lots of things that say anger is a problem. You look at violence, you look at just negativity, but they don't relate that with either something they can control, work on, or change. They just are like, I'm feeling this emotion, I'm giving into this emotion. You would think they would stop and be like, is this getting me anywhere? Like, is this an effective result? Like, I mean, I used to do it. You piss me off, I'm going. My goal is to hurt you. And if I hurt you bad enough to where I feel like the hurt I gave you is or more than the hurt you gave me, it makes me feel better. Like, yeah, when I used to rap, like back in the day, I would almost look for reasons to diss someone, and mostly my friends. Like, I've been in so many rap battles, like like we're making diss songs about each other with a lot of my friends over like minor arguments to where it's like, oh, let's go. You know what I mean? And it would always, then I would obsess. I would obsess. I ruined a whole date night over writing a diss record where I was just like, I literally was like, oh no, he dissed me. I gotta respond today. And we had already planned to go out to dinner. I don't know if it was someone's birthday or something. I was on my phone the whole time just writing diss raps. And I'm like, I have to get this done. Went straight home and recorded it. Got it out that day. But that's an addiction. There was no telling me nothing. and I just had to get as nasty as I could, and that served me nothing. Like, that was more negativity. Any good feeling I got out of that was temporary and just not good. And it took me a while to realize that.
Yeah, it's like you're saying earlier how I love to rap, but I'm not gonna let it ruin my life. But you did at one point let it ruin your life, basically. But that was back when you were in also the other deep addiction, and because of the type of person you were at that point in time, where it was that whole like ego driven and trying to just have everything be your way, everything with no acceptance of anything.
Right.
So it was everything all at once like that.
Oh, for sure. Like, I was definitely addicted back then. It was, I spent a lot of time doing it. It got in the way of my relationship at the time. Like, if I would drop everything that I had going to go do it, it was my number one obsession. And it wasn't like a daily obsession where it got in the way of everything, but if it could have gotten in the way of something, it did. It was at the top of my list. And, that time in particular, yeah, and I did more earlier. I kind of meant more nowadays. I'm not doing stuff like that as opposed to like back then. Yeah, for sure. And that's not only deep in my addiction, but deep in my ego addiction, where I thought I had to make me feel better by shitting on the world around me. And it never made me feel better, because at the end of the day, I'm still me, and I'm very aware of where I'm at. And I never really liked it, until I started doing the next right thing. And so I at least tried to stop doing the wrong thing. And then I can live with myself a little better, and I don't need to hurt you, because now when you want to be a dick and you want to send shots my way, I'm just like, he's just hurting right now. I don't even go there. But I used to go there. I'd look for a reason to go there. Even and to add another layer, like, I used to just, anytime me and my ex, my baby mom, first one, we would argue or fight, I'm writing a song. Like, I barely wrote any love songs, but I have like a list of songs when she pissed me off, and I'm putting them online. I'm putting them on like my MySpace profile. Yes, I'm talking that far back. So, like, how toxic is it for me to be with someone? We have a child together. We live together. You piss me off one day. I put a song on my profile that the first thing you see is when you go there is that song. Like, what a dick, man. Like, I was so bad. Like, all right, enough about me.
Yeah, I was pretty bad
changed.
too. Well, yeah. Obviously.
No, it's toxic as fuck. And it all stems from me problems. Like, I was hurting, but I would never say that. I was down, and I just hid it under anger. So if you hurt me, I'm not telling you hurt me, because my conditioning is like, one, people don't respond to that, so I don't want to get taken advantage of, but then you're a punk, and then you're being the little bitch, and then, so if I just get angry, then I don't, maybe even I felt like I had some control over the situation. I don't know. But it was bad.
Yeah, anger is like the covering, it's a more comforting emotion over fear. So like if you're like scared of something, you're most people turn it into anger to protect themselves, because if you're fearing of something, you're vulnerable, and you would rather not be vulnerable. You would rather be this big, scary, angry man who nobody can like fuck with by any means. And yeah, like I had the exact same issue, and most like all addicts have this. A lot of people have, most people have this issue. Damn it, like we're all like that, you know.
And none of us want to admit it.
And none of us want to admit it. But I've been noticing, I've been catching myself like in the moment, like when somebody makes me extremely angry, been like really trying to work on that. Like the moment I get angry, if before I would just kind of let it consume me and I would just kind of like get high on it and I would just sit in it and let it just go stronger and stronger, I would just stop and think, what is this anger going to give me? Why? Breaking down the parts, like, why am I reacting to this? Why am I having such a strong reaction? It doesn't matter like what reaction exactly, but why is it such a strong one? And it's just like, you know, and that takes me, like by breathing, I can take myself there. And then I'm, you know, in my, like the normal thinking mind where I can just think it through. And then all of a sudden I'm like, and then there's this part of like the ego tells me, well, if you don't sit in this anger, then you'll be nothing. You will just be this pushover. You'll just be this whatever, this made up image, this made up lie, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know, the very first moment I realized that I'm okay with being nothing, I felt at peace. As soon as I made the decision, I would rather feel nothing, this emptiness, that space, that nothingness, it became peace. And
Yeah.
after that first, like, after I've broken my cherry, it was like just so easily just being able to fall into it.
I like your metaphor. No, but like, even with recovery, like recovery itself is a complete paradox to where as soon as you feel nothing, you can feel peace. Like, as soon as you surrender, you could start to fight. You know, there's so many paradoxes in recovery, like with anger, with flaws in general. I don't know how many people in this world have their arms crossed, acting like they're flawless. You know, it was one of my biggest defects, just the inability to not only admit wrong, but feel wrong and admit it to myself. And what I see in recovery circles is people admitting their flaws. They are admitting them, they're examining them, and they're working on them. And that is so much stronger than walking around pretending like you don't have any. You know what I mean? Like, just, it's like when you see someone arguing who you know that they know they're wrong, and they're just holding on to it like, nope, I'm right. Nope. They look like a fucking idiot. And the whole world can see it. So to them, they feel like, I can't admit that I'm wrong because I'll feel stupid. But you look stupid by continuing to think that you're right. You'd be better off just being like, I fucked up, or I'm wrong, or teach me, or something. It opens the door for growth. It, you know, gets you in touch with reality, and you can actually make a change. If you can't admit there's a problem to begin with, you can't even begin to make a change, you know? And that's one of the biggest things in recovery. And it's kind of something I had to figure out myself. Like, nobody told me that. I just noticed that once I was able to start admitting things, that I would accept them and I'd start progressing on them. You know, I think the assumption is that when I admit something, I'm going to feel the guilt and the judgment from myself or others, and that's going to put me down and keep me stuck. But it's like the most freeing thing to just say, I fucked up. I'm human. And you work on it. And you still accept that it's not just going to be, I admitted it, now I'm fixed, and I'm never going to do it again. Like, nah, I got to admit it a couple times sometimes, you know. Damn, I'm still trying, you know.
Yeah, it's just like, it's basically just becoming in touch with your real self, because like Don Miguel says, we're we're fed lies. I mean, there's lies everywhere. There's lies about ourselves, about this world, about everybody. And so we just completely lose the real us. And getting in touch with the real you, and just realizing who you really are, admitting to it, surrendering, and then you can go from there. Surrendering doesn't mean like, oh, I surrender, I put my hands up, I'm not doing anything. Surrendering just means like, oh, I see it for the way it is, and I'm okay with it, but doesn't mean like you can't like change it. I don't know.
Right. It's like losing the battle to win the war. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just admitting, like, all right, you got me. Like, it's not surrendering, like giving up. I lose and I'm a forever loser. It's I'm defeated, and then it's like, all right, I'm gonna stop hitting you now. Get up. You know what I mean?
It's
That's
like when
basically
you're
how it is.
yeah, like you're arguing with somebody and you're wrong, but you can't surrender the situation. You can't accept that you're wrong. So you keep trying to control that situation, control it in a way where, like, trying to make yourself be right.
Right.
But if you just stop and being like, hey, you know what? I admit I'm wrong and I'm sorry, that's surrendering.
For sure.
To the situation.
And I feel like, I know we seem to like talk about so many different things. Like, we never seem to touch on drugs in a sense of being the main focal point. We don't come in here and kind of spit the textbook, this is drug talk, this is solution to addiction talk. This is all inclusive. Like, all this shit. Me with my anger, me with my wanting to be right, me with my inability to admit defeat, me with my upbringing, me with my obsession with music, that all went completely unchecked. All contributed to my drug use because I was so discontent. My emotions were all over the place without being able to manage them. They don't teach coping skills in school. So, like, if you're, when you're kids, your friends are fucking around. They're not like, let's solve our issues together. They're like, haha, fuck you. You know what I mean? And especially in my teenage years, I'm hanging out with thugs and shit. They're all hard and they're all perfect. And God forbid you have a flaw, you can't show it, let alone be like, hey guys, I'm struggling here. You know what I mean? And that's not the right way to go, but that's just the cards I was dealt. And it's all inclusive with recovery because it's all inclusive with my addiction, and all these things. Like, the first time I tried to get clean, all I did was stop doing drugs. That's it. And I'm like, all right, I'll be better now. No, I wasn't. I was still highly flawed. I was still resentful. I was still had no coping skills. I was still checking out into TV all the time. I was still shut down. I didn't even know who I was, but I was still too afraid to be myself anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And without addressing all this shit we talk about, I would be miserable again. And it'd probably only be a matter of time before I did drugs again. So I kind of just wanted to throw that out there because, like, this is an everything podcast because recovery is everything. Like, recovery opens the door. It's like, yeah, let's get off the drugs. Wake the fuck up. Now check this out. Look in the mirror. Fix that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so the way I see recovery is needed for like almost all people, except for like, the higher up like spiritual gurus who have written like all these books. All like just normal day-to-day living humans, like the only difference between the addicts and the non-addicts is that addicts, they, in the moment of all of that, bullshit, like, not accepting everything for what it is, hating themselves, not accepting emotions that they're feeling, they would just, you know, try this like little white pill, and then damn, that quiets my mind. Other people don't try that. They just continue to like sit in it and just live their life like that. That's why when, you know, addicts get out of rehab, like for like you and myself, we're still that same person, just with just abstinent, you know?
Right.
And so recovery is needed for everybody, because a lot of, if not most people, struggle with accepting their emotions, accepting themselves, accepting things for how they are. You know,
we really are the lucky ones, because you know,
yeah,
our addictions led us to a breaking point.
yeah,
So and drugs are such a societal red flag, if you know what I mean.
mm-hmm.
Like, it's like drugs are bad. So when we do these things, it's easier for us to say this is an issue, rather than if you're addicted to video games or you're addicted to anger and control. That is kind of like a less spotty record, you know what I mean? Like, you'd have to investigate that yourself, not just like, wow, let me go to Anger Addicts Anonymous, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's not illegal to be an
so
asshole.
yeah, so these people aren't hitting this breaking point. They're just going down, and they're looking around like, why? When we could just look at our addiction and say, that's why. And then we get our foot in the door, and then we get taught all these other things, and we're like, oh, it was never an addiction problem. It was a me problem. Like, I'm the one who's fucked up. So they're not getting there. They're not like, oh, I'm pissed because 50 people pissed me off. My husband sucks. Blah, blah, blah. Hold up. I'm the problem? Oh, wow, it's so freeing to know I'm the one behind all of my problems. No, they're going to be like, it's all of y'all. It's all y'all. And that's going to keep them stuck. As to where we can look and say, man, people have fucked me over, but what did I do? I have parts to play. Let me fix that. You know, we make amends to people that have fucked us over because we contributed. You know what I mean? They're not doing that. And it would take a lot for them to even comprehend thinking about trying that. So we are the lucky ones.
Yeah, and there's this quote that I read somewhere, can't remember, but it was just like, in order for you to get to heaven, aka spiritual awakening, you have to live through hell, aka addiction. So we're lucky because we got pushed, like you said, to that breaking point. I mean, we were living in hell, and you know, for me personally, I will speak for myself that I was in a state, like, even after I got sober, and I was in this like just state of like, man, I just fucking I hate everything. I can't. I hate myself. I hate life. This is so hard. I can't find joy or peace in anything. And I'm just out there looking. I'm looking for things outside of myself. I'm looking to find, you know, a major that I like, so that I can like just like make money, like get a degree and make a lot of money. And I'm looking for external things, like, you know, maybe if I work out enough, I'll love my body enough. And maybe if I, you know, all this crap. But it's like, no, the more I dig deeper into myself now, the less those things are starting to matter to me. Like, literally. Like,
I've been
yeah.
there.
Yep.
Sometimes I've looked back after getting out of that, like, holy shit, I'm really surprised I got out of that. Like, I've legit been in a room with a gun in my mouth. And I just know the feeling of just wanting it to stop. I literally was like, please give me the strength to do it. Because I couldn't do it. You know, I'm thinking, I've got children. I don't want them to grow up super depressed, and, you know, like kids who parents have committed suicide are more likely to commit suicide. I don't want my boy to come home and find me like that. Like, just so many things that had nothing to do with me. That were my, like, if it was just me, I don't know. Because it wasn't, it was just so dark. And there
Yep.
was no hope. There was nothing. There was not, it'll get better one day. There was not, this is just for now, this will pass. None of that shit. I was just, my thoughts are so dark. My life sucks so fucking bad. And I don't know where to go. You know, at the time, I knew about meetings, but I never looked at it as something that could help me. I always looked at it as something you had to go do for court or something. You know what I mean? Because the meetings I had gone to in the past, they weren't like that. I didn't get a positivity vibe. It was just drug talk, and that's not what I wanted. But man, when you get out of it, when you just peek your head out of the cloud, you're like, holy shit, that was close. And it's fucking scary.
I know, right? Yeah, there's just so many times. I mean, that mind of ours, it can get so brutal, and it'll just, and it's just so evil sometimes. I got a question though. Do you think
What?
there's ever going back from wherever, like whatever this peaceful, amazing place that you get to, is it possible to go back from it?
I mean, yeah. So
How?
I feel like with Awakenings, I was getting there.
Suspense
I feel
is
like with
killing.
Awakenings, once you open a door, it's really hard to close.
Yeah.
So like knowing something, it's hard to go back from that. Now, appreciating living in that. All right, so let's look at it as a house. You open the door's open.
Mm-hmm.
You go in the room, you love it. I feel like you can't close the door, but you can leave the room, if that makes sense. Something could happen to challenge your sobriety. Something could happen to challenge your faith. Something could happen that just fucking hits you and makes you so sour that you're like, yeah, I know just for today, but fuck that. Yeah, I know opinions are just thoughts or part of my ego, but fuck that. I'm gonna sit in it. I'm letting this bitch take the wheel. I feel like that is possible. I feel like it would take, I don't just hit a plane and stay there. I have to work to stay there. And even if I do the work, I leave there. You know what I mean? Like I slip out of that state of that awakening feeling I get where I'm just high on life. That does fade for me. And I've noticed times where I've gossiped, I've slipped into ego, I've slipped into angry point of views, but I do remember to refocus, center, observe, and hop up out of there. Now, I feel like if I started to, like, if I stopped going to meetings, if I stopped reading up on these books and shit, I feel like those spaces of, I feel like maybe I'd start having wider gaps in between my remembering to observe and check out, you know what I mean? And maybe just slip back in there. I think that's possible. Now, I'd probably have glimpses where I'm like, you know, you're just fucking ego, right? But then I'd be so stuck in my shit that I'm like, I do, and I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, it's almost as if you constantly have to keep your ego in check and never get like complacent with it. I mean, like same with meetings, but like with the ego, it's like, I mean, with like more time and practice, you can, become more aware, but it's like there'll still be moments that are so strong and that'll just be so overpowering. But it's like, I also think like, but what if you get to a point, like you practice this daily, just like catching yourself in the moments, just like, and then just kind of like staying above thought type of thing. Like, I wonder if it's possible to just not be like
So you
what?
so you want to get to the point where it's like automatic, where like you get to a place and stay there?
I'm just like, I mean, ideally, yes, but I'm wondering, is that like really a possible thing? But I feel like maybe not like staying there, but like for it to become easier to do that. Because like
Okay,
I've
yeah. I
noticed,
was gonna say getting there and staying there is addict thinking.
I know.
I want to feel good.
Yeah, I just
Getting there
realized
more
that wasn't.
often, sure.
Yeah.
No, like if you learn how to ride a bike, you get to the point where 99% of the time you're not going to fall off. But shit happens, you know what I mean? And then you
Yeah.
don't pick up the bike for a while, maybe you're a little rusty and you can't ride without your hands anymore. But you know what I mean? Like you can remember to check out and observe. You can remember to recenter. And let's say your first year of like this type of thinking, you recenter once a week or once a day, and you're like, oh yeah. But then, oh shit, I just was totally wrapped in autopilot for 4 straight hours while I was bitching at my coworkers. But I remembered to check out at the end of the day, and I didn't have a fucked up night. Um, but then the more you kind of drill this information, the more you practice, the more you learn. Then maybe you can learn to check out mid argument and not make it go further, or then maybe you can learn to check out while they're bitching at you and respond with a peaceful response, right? So it comes with practice, and it comes with just using the tools and remembering where they are and remembering to use them when needed.
Yeah, it's all about the practice for sure. But I just know that like before it'd be so bad, like even after going meetings and stuff where I feel like, okay, well maybe it's getting better, but it's like still I would have moments, and this was just like really just astonishing for me. I would have like moments where like everything is supposedly fine. Nothing is going wrong. I have nothing to worry about. I'm like sitting somewhere like, I don't know, on the beach or like, where it's just like this beautiful view and but I'm still sitting there and like there's something like I just still feel like shit, and it's so weird. Like I can't pinpoint what it is. I can't identify which thoughts are messing me up, but it's like after I've been, practicing this whole like being aware of, I don't know, just basically awareness of anything that's happening with me. It's like now I feel like when I'm just sitting down, like doesn't matter where or what I'm doing or where I'm at, I can actually feel some sort of like enjoyment of just, like because I've kind of just figured out like what's going on with my thoughts, and I've like detached myself from them. So because of that, like I just kind of feel like, am I really like, would I ever go back from that? Because it's just like, it's so incredible. It's like this huge stepping stone, because I never thought it would be possible for me to just enjoy a simple little moment. Like I kind of made this
Okay.
deal with myself. You're not going to use but shit, girl. You're going to be miserable for the rest of your life, and you better accept that.
Yeah, for real.
And
that's the exact thing I said going in.
And that's what I was like, fine, whatever. And because because of the shitty relationship with myself I had back then, like I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll just fucking do this to myself. I don't care. It's fine. I just,
Yeah. I feel like there is going back, but it would be a choice. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, everything is a choice. Everything is a choice.
Well, I mean, it would. I think we'd be aware of it. So there's like a saying in AA that's like a belly full of booze and a head full of AA, just like whatever the rest is. But basically, once you go to AA and you learn the truth and you're aware of what you're doing, you go back out it's not as fun because it's not an unconscious, I don't know what I'm doing to myself type thing. You know exactly what you're doing. And you
Yeah.
don't enjoy it as much because you're fucking beating yourself up like, motherfucker, you know what you're doing. I'm maybe with enough practice you get back to that unconscious state, sure, but you'll probably wake up more often than not like the AA voice would be there. So I think it's the same thing here where we could choose to get back in our egos, we can choose to get back in our anger, to, you know, fuck people over, but our conscious is going to let us know that we're doing the wrong thing. And I bet our body is going to respond with negative feelings of fear or, you know, discontent. We're not going to be happy. You know what I mean? There was a time of my life where, like, I was happy and content winning. Now I would not be happy and content winning if it meant fucking people over or hurting anybody. I would not be happy. I would judge myself because that's not who I want to be. That's not who I am. And I know that. And that's not who I want to be. Back then, it wasn't who I was either. But that's what I thought I needed to become. Because when I look around the world, that's what I see. You know, like watching that show the other night, only people who take things in this world will make it. Like, I would hear something like that and I'd say, damn, you don't take enough. You need to get comfortable with taking. I tried to learn how to cheat. I tried to learn how to lie. All this shit. Why? I always felt so uncomfortable with it. Like, full on. I mean, not just, oh, this is wrong. I mean, like, my body was shake because it just felt so wrong. And my spirit was just denying it. But I would be like, you're just overthinking it and judging yourself. Everybody does it. Just get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I would tell myself because that's what I thought I should be doing because of the world and the conditioning or the things I'm seeing or the influence I had. You know, like now I listen to that spirit and I'm like, I don't care if I look like the softest dude on the block. Like, I'm more hard than y'all because I could say what's up. Like, I ain't afraid to hug you, bruh. Come here. Like, you're afraid to say you're hurting right now. You know what I mean? Like, I won't say all that, but like, yeah, dude, like, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes time to grow. And it takes strength to admit your weakness.
Yeah, the real power, I mean, the most powerful thing is just surrender and a hug.
And a hug.
Surrender with a hug.
There's nothing like a good hug, man. Like, I mean, even if we're in COVID times, like, come here. Dude, like, the hugs today be so, like, much extra because
Well, yeah.
when someone's just like, I don't care, give me a hug, it's like hug times 10 because you're like, I will die for this hug. Like, you better love who hugs you today.
I thought it was so funny when I first showed up. So I first showed up to an AA meeting and we're all just like holding hands, you know, in a circle. But then I showed up to the NA meeting and I don't know, I think it was either you or the other person in the meeting said, because I was like reaching out my hand to, you know, hold it. And somebody was like, yeah, no, this is NA, we hug. We don't do any of that bitch ass holding hands.
Like, we don't hold hands here. The fuck
most
you doing?
Most likely was you, yeah.
It was probably me.
I'm like, I have found my place.
Yeah. It's funny, every now and then someone will go to both meetings and then when it's time to huddle up, they'll like reach down with their hands. I'm like, what's he trying to hold my hand, bro? Just fuck with them. Wait till after the meeting. Yeah.
But no, like, awareness is such an incredible thing. Like, I just feel like once you really get the hang of it, it's like you can't get that taken away from you, you know? It's not just gonna fade. It's just opening up some sort of like a freaking like portal or some shit. I don't know. Like,
right.
you're just opening something up that you can't close. And I thought it was like, so I struggle with an eating disorder, and I was reading this book on like binge eating, and she was referring like she was using different terms, but like she was talking about being aware in the moment. And so she was like, yeah, like one of the last chapters, she's like, after I've gained that awareness, I decided to just let myself do it just that one last time. And then she said that as she was doing it, it was not enjoyable. While she was being aware of what she was doing to herself, of what was happening in the moment, she just wanted to stop because she didn't feel
Right.
anything from it. So it just,
No, I get
like,
that. That's awesome.
yeah. So I'm like, damn. And then I started doing that, and I just felt this like huge change, like if
That's cool that you say that, because I was listening to some things about quitting smoking and they were very similar, but they didn't say it like that. But now that I'm hearing you say that, that is what they meant. It's like, and it works too, because so when I smoke, I usually go out on my phone, or I'm driving, or I'm doing something else. And one of his biggest tips was disassociate everything you do while you smoke. So if you drink coffee, if you, read the newspaper
Mhm.
while you smoke, don't do that. One, it breaks the combo. So you're not fighting the impulse to quit smoking and do these things at the same time. First, you disassociate, and then that's an urge itself to take my phone out when I smoke. It is a total
Yep.
urge. And so anyway, he was like, when you smoke, go ahead and continue to smoke. Just smoke and watch. You'll see that you don't really want to smoke as much as you think you do. If I take my phone out, I can smoke 2 in a row. Like, because I'll burn through one while I'm fucking with my phone. I'll smoke it. It's not like I'm just letting it burn. But then it'll be gone, and I'm like, damn, I feel like I didn't even, you know what I mean? I feel
Mhm.
like I didn't even experience that. Like, I could smoke another one. When I go out without my phone, I literally can smoke half and be like, I'm good. Like, what am I doing? It's even when I quit smoking, I'd still go outside and stuff, because I think it was mostly, I just want to step away for a minute and I want to come back. Maybe my habit of smoking, I've smoked for so long. Maybe I'm not only used to smoking, the act of smoking, the effects of nicotine, the multitasking of whatever I'm doing while I'm smoking, but I'm also addicted to stepping away from whatever I'm doing for a moment and then coming back regrouped. Like, I'm addicted to walking out of work every hour for 10 minutes. I'm addicted to walking out of my living room and back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of sitting in the same space for 6 hours straight. I'm addicted to changing my scenery every hour. Anyway, I'm kind of hijacked your thing and took off with it, but I'm glad you said that, because that's really something I need to get back to, at the very least, just not bringing my phone, because I do want to be aware of how much I smoke.
No, and it's not my thing. It's just it's all of our thing, because we all have that thing that we have to do, that we think we can't live without, and it all works the same, whether it's smoking, food, or whoever does whatever they do, play video games. She says it like,
Whoa, 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 whoa! This isn't a whatever podcast.
this is an everything podcast.
Oh, all right, all right.
So yeah, she is saying that you got like 2 brains, which is basically, in our terms, the ego and then the deeper self, but she calls it the human brain and then the animal brain. So the animal brain will tell us, it'll take over, or try to, because so the human brain is responsible for making decisions, for actually deciding and sending sensory impulses into your hands, and to grab and actually do the thing. But the animal brain tries to influence it as much as it can, but it doesn't actually have any real power, like, at all. And that was another thing that I really liked. So in the moment when you get that urge to do whatever you need to do, or you think you need to do, you just kind of like stop and detach yourself from that urge. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like experiencing
Yes.
this urge. This part of me is, like wanting this, but I don't need it. I'm fine without it kind of thing. So that awareness again, just being aware. And then, one of these days you could just be like aware of your urge to smoke. And then you're like, you know what? Fine, let's go. You want to tell me I got to smoke? Fine. And then you just like sit down and you smoke, and it's not even going to be enjoyable. Work the same way.
Right. When I quit smoking, I kind of did a little bit of that. I would allow myself to when I really wanted to, and I would leave my phone. I did all that disassociation stuff, and I'd go out there. I would take my phone, but I wouldn't be on it because I was keeping a log of how strong my urge was. First of all, what time it was, how much I smoked, whether it was a half a one or a whole one or whatever, how strong my craving was, and how I felt after. And I was honest. I would be like, I had a very mild mental craving. I had no physical craving. Went out and smoked. It tasted like shit. My breath stank, and I kind of wish I didn't do it. Next time, I just ate. Strong, mild, moderate physical urge. Smoked it, enjoyed it. I feel fine. You know what I mean? And I did that, and I was honest about it. And one of my main things was also wait 5 minutes or wait 10 minutes, because I can sit with an urge for 5 or 10 minutes. And sometimes more often than not, the urge goes away. So telling myself, no, don't smoke, don't smoke. I'm getting out of the whole just for today mindset and right now mindset, and it will add more pressure immediately. But if I say, just wait 5 minutes, if you want to go, then go. And then just me saying, like, go ahead, do it. If it's what you want to do it, was so freeing.
Mm-hmm.
My problem was I like smoking. Like, I don't like a lot of things about it, but I do like some things about it. So when I quit, it was like, yes, I want to. I want to want to follow through with it. But I also am just like, I'm still holding on. So when I quit those 5 days, I'd have one very strong urge each day. It was fine. It was strong though. It was like a yearning. It was so bad. Like, but it was maybe 20 minutes long and I could get through it, but it was intense. Anyway, the thing that put me back into smoking was the thought that I can moderate. Maybe I can be that guy. I could smoke one, put it down, smoke one on that one strong urge a day. I smoked another one within an hour. And then I was back to my regular capacity within a week, not like 3 days.
Yeah, I actually remember that moment when you were trying to quit and you kept telling me all this bullshit, like you're going to have one a day. And I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
I know, right? What an addict. I'm different now. No. And I related that to my addictions, because I'm like, there's those thoughts that come. Maybe I can just smoke like a joint on a holiday.
Yeah.
Maybe I can have a beer
Microdose.
at a wedding. Yeah, whatever. No, it can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that even that cigarette thing, and I'm glad it was with cigarettes and not with drugs, just proves like what you think you can handle is a whole different story once you open that door. Once I open the door that, I can smoke a joint only when like I can't sleep from like a massive breakup, like panic wakeness. You know what I mean? Like, no, because once that door's open, you're also going to smoke when you're tired and have to work early the next morning, or you want to take a nap, or you want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there is no limits with that. Any limit I set the line will get drawn closer. But I'm an addict, and I had to figure that out for myself.
Yeah, it's like when people are like, oh, you can, after a certain period of time, you don't think you can just like have a beer? And it's like, it does not matter how much time has passed. The lies, the brain functioning, it's still the same. That will never change,
Right. I don't know how people do it. I don't know if they're just all lying, because some people will be like, oh, I used to be like this. I stopped for a while and now I can enjoy from here and there. Maybe they can. I'm not, I think I'd be lying if I said nobody does it. I just don't know what all comes with that. I wish they were honest enough about how many urges are you fighting all the time, or like what else did you lose with that? Did you lose a lot of your, I don't know, like your program, or I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
I just think it's,
I just don't see how it's possible.
yeah, maybe it's their ability to have that like awareness of, well, this is just my, other brain that's telling me all these urges. But maybe there are certain degrees of that brain that are stronger than others, and we have the stronger ones, because like everybody loves to get drunk. Like everybody, even like the people that are, except for the ones that don't like the feeling of it or whatever, but like everybody likes to do whatever.
Everybody likes to get drunk, except the people that don't.
Well, that's like my mom, like she's like, well, it puts me to sleep. It's not fun, but
Right.
yeah, even like,
I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan. So.
yeah, and the ones that are non-addicts, they just crap. I lost it. Yeah, they just have that like level of awareness with it in the moment. Like, hey, I had enough, and whatever is telling me to have more, I just gonna ignore it because it's not me. It's just,
Well, that's what I mean. Like, once we set a baseline, it's hard to ever go under that baseline. Like, I could take, let's say, 5 pills was my max for a daily dose.
mm-hmm.
I could get to the point where I don't feel that on a tolerant level. You know what I mean? Like where it feels less, like my tolerance goes up and I'm not feeling it. 5 pills today hit the same as it hit 3 months ago. I won't just take 10. I have a line. You know what I mean? Maybe I'd take 6, and then maybe that line, maybe I'd, get more comfortable at 6, then maybe I'd take 7, but I won't just jump to 10. But I would never just take 3. There it's just, even if I felt 3, I would still take the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would still be like, because I know I can handle 5. 5 is my limit. I feel like that's how it has to be with drugs. Like when I used to smoke daily, I just don't see how I could smoke once on a weekend and then just not smoke again until the next time I smoke again. Like another month, another week, I just don't see that unless I have to literally fight the urges and get clean all over again every time I do it. And if that's the case, what's the point? Like alcohol never hit me like that. I was never like, I'm drinking, I'm starting to get a buzz and getting drunk, I fucking want more. I'm like, I'm good. Like my line with alcohol is so small. Like I'd get sick. The party's done. I'm good. I don't want to get further than the drunkest I've been. And I've never blacked out or anything. But like, yeah, like I just don't see how they do that. How do you go from being a daily alcoholic to keeping your favorite brand at home and just using it here and there, not going too hard with it, and totally passing on it more often than not? I just don't believe that. I feel like if you are doing that, you are fighting tooth and nail to not do it when you're not doing it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some people just have like an epiphany or a change of perspective and they just don't think about it anymore. I don't know.
So
that ain't me.
Here's like another thing I kind of thought of. So the reason why we enjoy the things we enjoy a lot, the reason why we become quote unquote addicted or just like enjoy things is because they bring us into the moment. They turn off our minds. Adrenaline
Right.
junkies, like, because you're going super high up in the air and then you're falling down super fast, that takes you into the moment. Anything that pulls you into the moment, whether, and so those people, maybe they just kind of, it's like, well, I have all these different things that I can use to bring myself into the moment. And maybe I'll just use something else now because I've had enough kind of thing. But
yeah, maybe.
But like I was taught, like the addict in me, when after I first got a hold of the whole spirituality shit, I'm just like, well, maybe I can just stay in the moment. Like maybe I can always be high. And I was just like,
God, don't do that voice ever again.
why? What's wrong with it?
It was beautiful.
Ask yourself why it makes you so uncomfortable, because it wasn't that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's, yeah. I did the same thing. I'm gonna kind of put myself out there right now, so don't judge me. I did the same thing with Fortnite. I was starting
that does not surprise me at all.
No, I was starting to obsess. There was a period where I'm literally like, where at my peak when I was really into it, I was getting better at it. That game will make my adrenaline rush. That game will keep my attention. It will take me out of the moment, put me in the moment, but take me out of my moment in reality. It will, it's a form of checking out. I would be at work thinking about it, like waiting to do it. Like, God, I just can't wait to get home and play Fortnite. And just, so I got to that point where, it's not an addiction. I'm not staying up all night. I'm not, but it's a high obsession. And I have gotten to the point where I could decrease that. Like, it took some doing, though. It took like, okay, stop. Like, you're going to take a break and eat. You're going to like, turn it off and go read or do something productive. Like, yes, the laundry doesn't have to be done right now, but bruh, go do your fucking laundry, right? And so I could fight that urge and then I could resume play again without letting it get back to that. But it did take effort. You know what I mean? So that's why I say when the whole moderating thing comes, it has to be some of that too, where the urge to get back there is strong. Maybe something so bad happened that they're like, no, I'll never get there again. But it's got to be hard to be like, well, just let's push the line a little bit. I had a 2-drink limit. It's been a while since I've been handling 2. Let's go to 3. You know what I mean? And then just push it again.
Yeah, just, I don't know. I really feel like it's the ability to just snap out of it in the moment and become aware. Because like with me personally, like if I get drunk, if I'm like drinking or getting high, as I'm doing that, I just completely lose myself. I completely identify with all those like things, and I just want more and more. And my ego, the ego wants more. It wants to want more than it just wants more. Like to just want more than more. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes. Totally.
When I'm like in that,
because it's never happy. Once it gets it, it wants something else.
Right. But those people that can control it, I think they're able to just snap out of it in the moment, just be aware, like, hey, this is just, I mean, and they're in their thoughts and their whatever form that is in their head and their thoughts. It might not be awareness that they think it is, but it is essentially awareness. Like, hey, I am just wanting to want more. This is not me. This is like what my ego, my other brain, whatever. And able to just bypass that. But I think,
I guess it's not worth the risk.
But it's not. No, it's not. Definitely not worth the risk. The next thing I was going to say is that, for us addicts, our ego is so strong once it gets that taste of that it's power. We are powerless over our ego in that moment. That's the whole thing on powerlessness. That right. It's so much more. I was in a blah blah blah. I was gonna say it's more powerful than us.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I was in a go-to meeting a couple weeks ago with some staff members, and he had the perfect metaphor for it. He's like, all right, this is what you can think about when you think you're going to just have that one drink. Imagine you just got a Baconator sitting in front of you. Are you telling me you're going to take one bite of that Baconator and just set it down and not take another bite for 4 hours if you're fucking starving? Bam. Like, that's addiction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just doing a little bit. I'm doing it to get what I want. And what I want is what I want. And when do I want it? Now. And how often do I want it? All the time.
Yeah, I like how you said starving. It's almost as if we're kind of in this state of like starving. And like if before I felt like I was constantly starving for something, like I was, you know, my soul was starving. Now, even though like now I just like if before I would be like starving for like, you know, I would have urges, cravings. I'd be starving to like have something to bring me into the moment. Now it's like I don't even feel like I want it anymore. Like I get that like the ego part of me like wants it, but I'm more in touch with like my deeper self that doesn't need any of that. It can just be okay and content with whatever in the moment. You know what I mean? So I guess it's more of like being in touch with your deeper self. Because now, even if somebody, honestly though, like even if somebody were to tell me that, like, okay, you know what, addicts are cured, you guys are good, just like, you know, be careful, whatever. I'd be like, no, I don't even want it anymore. Like,
I don't want, yeah, totally. That's why it's so important in recovery to not just get away from the old life, but to build a new one. Because I'm not just staying away from that. I honestly, more often than not, don't even think about it. I really don't. I don't think about getting high most of the time. I am so focused on new things, growth, of doing all the things that I have the energy and mental capacity to do. And I want more of that. You know what I mean? So it's almost like I'm channeling my same addict behavior only into positive things rather than negative. You know what I mean? It's not based only around my feelings and how I feel physically and mentally, to where I'm just on this constant chase for peace, because that's what it became for me after a while. It was barely getting high. It was just, I just want to feel not shitty, you know, but now it's like, I want to grow. I want to, oh, I've done some things productive in recovery. I want more of that. But it's also not a starving feeling. It's like a steady, calm progression. Like, I want to do this podcast. I want to make music. I want to build up my you know, my own self-awareness and my own self-improvement. But it's not like a desperate thing. I'm cool with being where I'm at, and I'm cool with getting where I'm going one step at a time. Whereas before it was a constant like frenzy chase to get what I needed right now, like right now. So it's all about building a new life and focusing on that, because when you just get rid of the negative side and you don't add anything new to it, then you're just looking back, like, stay away from there. But when you start adding new things and you're holding that in your other hand, now you have a choice, because if I walk back this way, I'm walking away from this. And that makes it so much. And it's not even that. You almost are like, there's no question. I'm not even like standing in the middle looking at which side I want to walk to. I'm too busy walking this way. And the farther I walk this way, this shit's so far gone, I don't even see it in my rear view anymore. You know, and then every now and then the aroma passes by and, you know, I get reminded, but then I remember where that place looked like. And I'm like, why would I want to go back there? You know what I mean? Why do I want to go back to my old condemned, beat up house? Sure, there was some memories there. Yeah, there's a cool couch, and, you know, it feels cool to hang there sometimes, but this is fucking paradise over here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, the present moment is the best moment. But like,
That's all there is. It's the only thing that exists.
Yeah, it's the only thing we have access to. But like you're saying, now you can channel it into positive things. So here is another thing that we got super lucky with is that, like, if before we're addicted, we're chasing this, high, this whatever, these negative things to fill ourselves up with. But now it's like I'm feeling this transition, this transformation where, like, I still have that addict in me, totally, but my addictive behavior now is towards growth. Like, I am now obsessing with, like, reading about, spirituality and just, like, self-improvement and this and that. And it hasn't even felt like it's been unhealthy, because all those things that I'm getting from it are, like, positive, because with every single day I feel some sort of an improvement. I feel so much better. Like, I'm finding out more of these things about, like, myself and other people and how to just, and I have that same drive that I had to get to the negative. Now I have that same exact drive, but it's flipped to the positive. And
Right.
like, all of us addicts, we have that drive in us. It's just that we didn't put it in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's like a big leap of faith. Like, you don't know that it's there, or you don't know how to get there. So we just don't, we're unaware of it. You know what I mean? If you're not introduced to stuff like this, you're just kind of lost in the world, and you think your only options are to continue, like, medicating yourself the only way you know how, or feel how you feel when you're not medicating yourself, unaware that, hey man, there's another option. They tried to tell me some of these things when I was still using. I was going to therapy, and they're like, check into the present, feel your feet in your shoes, like touch a surface, just feel your sensations. I'm like, what the fuck you talking about? Just check into the moment. Don't think about the past. Don't obsess about the future. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It was impossible to me. I'm like, you don't get it. The things I obsess about of the past, they're valid. The things I'm worrying about tomorrow,
I'm special.
they're valid. I need to worry about them. I'm so special. I need to figure it out. And I'm so special that the shit you're talking, Mr. Degree Man, don't apply to me. You know what I mean? You just don't get it. Give me a script.
I'm
for
so
narcotics.
different from every single person. Everyone else is a simulation.
You are. Oh God, don't even get me started. That's a whole nother podcast.